Now I feel it is not time for me to rob the time of the guest who has wholeheartedly agreed to present a subject. So I don't want to rather rob that time. Today, our National Secretary, Comrade Sri P.V. Surendranath, as well as the State Secretary, Mr. Pramod, are participating in this function. First of all, I invite Mr. P.V. Surendranath to make few words as felicitations for this function. Mr. P.V. Surendranath. Surendranath, can you hear?
Hello.
Yes. Few words as felicitation.
I was not unmuted, that's why. Yeah.
Yes.
Respected President of the function, MC Ramyendran. I'm sorry, the President is Vijay Kumar. Sorry.
Okay.
Honorable Justice Mohammed Mushtaqe, Chief Guest of the program, CP Pramod, State Secretary, other dignitaries, other friends, participants, dear friends. Every challenge brings new avenues and opportunities. And of course, this corona monster is a challenge of colossal proportion, and it brings opportunities as well. Before this COVID lockdown, we never thought of utilizing this information technology for this sort of program, this sort of seminar or webinar, whatever. We never called webinar even. So for education purpose, this is a big opportunity. And I'm happy that Kannur District Committee of ILU could tap this opportunity very effectively and successfully. And they undertook a continuing education program even before this COVID period, before COVID lockdown. And when the COVID lockdown just came in, they utilized this technology, and now we read this 50th program. And 50th program, of course, you may not get a better, appropriate resource person, not only for inauguration of this celebration, also as a resource person. I need not say anything about Justice Mushtaqe. He has got an eminent role in formulating the e-policy of Kerala High Court. And that, of course, contributed much in utilizing this digital technology, information technology, to an optimal level in dispensation of justice. That is why when the lockdown came in, though there was difficulty, but there was no complete breakdown. They could utilize this information technology in an optimal level and continue dispensation of justice by way of virtual court to an extent. So, of course, there are difficulties, problems in dispensation of justice by way of virtual courts. We can't say this is the proper technology, the stage of technology is not that much conducive for dispensation justice by virtual court. But definitely that technology will develop, and we can use this technology at an optimal level, and not a substitute to physical hearing, but to augment that dispensation. So necessarily that contribution will increase day by day, and in that matter, Justice Mushtaqe's contribution is very immense. So I thank Justice Mushtaqe for that purpose. So as far as the ILU District Committee is concerned, it is a time for celebration and accomplishment, because throughout this period, without interruption, you could conduct this program very effectively, and you could ensure eminent participants as resource persons. Justice Kurian Joseph was there, various other retired judges were there, as now said by previous speakers. So in every sense, by participation, by the content-wise, in every respect, it was a successful program. So I, on behalf of ILU National Committee, congratulate ILU High Court, Kannur Committee for this accomplishment. And necessarily, this energy should be utilized for future program. And I hope that the Kannur Committee will be doing that more effectively, because we consider education as a mission, and we lawyers are permanent students. So sharing of information and knowledge itself is a mission. So we are undertaking that as a mission. So I congratulate once again Kannur Committee for doing this missionary activity. So
Okay.
I conclude these words, and we are all eagerly waiting for Justice Mushtaqe. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Pramod, our State Secretary also is present. 2 words as felicitations.
Yes. President of this function, very senior lawyer, Sri Vijay Kumar sir. Then the Kannur District Committee President and Secretary of Lawyers Union, our distinguished guest who is imparting a class today, Justice Mushtaqe sir, our National Secretary, Sri P.V. Surendranath sir, then all other dignitaries who are present, who are attending this class, and other lawyer friends. This is a celebrating occasion for the Kannur online through this pandemic period. There has been a humble beginning for Lawyers Union right from the beginning of the lockdown itself, complete lockdown itself, wherein the entire legal process or judicial process in the country had been standstill. And in that occasion, every person, including whether it is a judge or is a lawyer or is a client, everyone sitting idle in their home. And in that point in time, we have started the online classes. Lailu has taken initiative to start online classes to impart legal education, or even rather for academic debates and classes. Then that has been proved as a very successful affair, because 2 of our district committees, first Palakkad District Committee and now Kannur District Committee, are completing their 50 classes in the meanwhile. Palakkad Committee has started it right from the beginning, and thereafter Kannur also were in the fray. There was a mutual competition between the two, healthy competition in between the 2 committees. They were mustering dignitaries throughout, legal luminaries throughout the country, and they are imparting legal classes. And that's why their effort has become succeeded. And now 50th class celebration is going on for Kannur. 3 weeks back, Palakkad also celebrated. Today at the same time, Palakkad, the 54th class of Palakkad is going on. Unfortunately, we could not avoid a clash between the timing of the two classes, because time slots are being provided. And Vinod was telling me that only for the convenience of the guest, he was constrained to the class at this time slot. Okay, doesn't matter. Both the classes will be having their own viewership is there, so no problem, absolutely. But uh, I would rather say that lawyers union, because Mushtaq judges, as we know, and as well as introduced by Tangachan, he has been in the forefront of organizing online or virtual courtrooms, or even electronic solutions for conducting of the courts and through online devices. We know that several courts for online hearings instead of physical hearing during the pandemic period has been introduced by the Supreme Court, as well as in the Kerala High Court also, which is now prevalent in the district centers too. But it is a reality that lawyer community is the worst introduced or worst accustomed to electronic media or even the new gen online or virtual hearing platforms. But due to these classes imparted by different organizations, and the premier one is definitely Lawyers Union, we are already completed almost 125 classes throughout the state by different district committees. And a lot of lawyers are participating in it. So we are creating an interface for the lawyers to be accustomed or to make themselves introduced to online classes. And thereby we are also helping out the virtual hearing of the court also, because the lawyers are not accustomed to these things. But at the same time, lawyer community has got an apprehension, which has been incidentally pointed out by Surendranath, I think, that virtual courts may not be, because the physical courts may not be replaced by virtual courts. Physical courts has got the sanctity. Everybody knows that. Everybody is of unanimous opinion that only the physical courts are the practical courts to be permitted. But what to do when a pandemic situation like this comes in? There is no contact or crowding of the court is not at all permitted. But still, the lawyers have to be engaged in their profession. Judiciary has to dispense their duty, and people are to get their justice through the court. So definitely, this system cannot be paralyzed forever. So that as a necessity, we are embarking for these online devices or online classes. It is a uh, compelling necessity that everybody should go or follow through that system.
Necessary.
In that process, I think lawyers union classes, online classes, as I stated earlier, was very much helpful for the lawyers to be accustomed to this online platform or online environment rather, to make themselves aware of the situation, of the present situation. I'm not prolonging it because already half an hour lapsed, and our chief guest is eagerly waiting for making a presentation. We are also eagerly waiting for his commendable lecture, so that appreciable lecture, and I'm not prolonging it much. The Lawyers Union State Committee is extending its wholehearted congratulation and also appreciation for Kannur Committee to have achieved the landmark of 50th classes through online, and this will be a launching pad for other committees also to follow in that online classes by other committees are also being activated now. So definitely, I think all the district committees will take this opportunity in this pandemic period, and every committee should be active in imparting academic sessions to the lawyers. And apart from academic issues, lawyers union should also focus. That is our decision on several social issues which affects any legal parameters. Certainly, new legislations are coming forth. People will be having apprehension about that. So we have to address all those issues also. I suggest Kannur District Committee also should focus on such issues also alternately or on the intermittent period, that such classes also should be there to organized for that clarity for the matter and also clarity for the lawyers, clarity for the community, etc. So I'm stopping this. With this, I'm stopping this. Thank you all. Okay,
Yes. So now I most respectfully invite our chief guest to present on the subject future of the profession. Sir.
Thank you, Vijay Kumar, my good
Okay,
friends,
sir.
MC Ramendran, Pankaj, and all others who have spoken, including Pramod. 3 days back, when I was contacted by Pankaj, he said, as the 50th program is nearing, can you be the speaker? I initially suggested Saturday or Sunday. Saturday, I have a program in Judicial Academy and Clinic. I said I can have it on Sunday. So we initially fixed it on 10 o'clock, but I failed to notice an agreed program in Gujarat National University, sir, for I had to postpone, a little bit postpone it. So when he asked me, I thought it's a Kannur Union program. I can speak anything with you because you're all my brother and along with you, I grew in Kannur. But today I'm realizing the many other participants across the country, including Sri Ram Panchu, I'm a bit diffident in presenting my subject because it's more of a random thought to be shared with you rather than any prepared presentation on the subject. It's my feelings, thoughts, which come across for the period of my experience as a judge, as a lawyer, and experience as a committee chairman of computer, as well as a AA committee in High Court. I thought I should share something with you for the future. Because it is high time we should realize about our own identity. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because looming large on a threat of our identity as a lawyer. Many today also spoke about our identity related as a litigation lawyer. What kind of adversity we experienced on account of COVID, and virtual court should not, physical court should not be replaced to virtual court. Of course, it is concerned, really a concern. But we're still looking our prism and windows through a narrow area of the litigation lawyer, and how a litigation lawyer practicing in a court, especially lawyers who are practicing in official courts cannot think about anything other than the few courts like the magistrates court, civil court, or consumer court, or maybe a revenue court like a Tahsildar or some other courts. From there, this identity we have to shift to some other level. That is my whole idea. I think today, when you need to talk about certain subjects, it's readily available, any set of information online. But changing or making a revolution through our own identity and reflects upon the future, it's totally a different task. So altogether, I'm trying to shoulder that task by sharing my own random thoughts on this area. Well, to understand our identity as of now, we should go back to the history. I think if all of you are mute yourself, it would be good. There would be only
one second. Let me unmute all of them. Then that's better. Otherwise, some problems. 1 second. Yes. Okay. Continue. Please continue.
The modern nation states is coming to be existence after the Westphalia Treaty back in the 16th or early 17th century. After the war between different groups in the Europe, it paved way for nation states. The period of intelligentsia followed their own, resulting different legal philosophies. The nation states start legislating. This is how the territorial laws come to existence, sovereign laws. It brought up a lot of changes. Westphalia Treaty brought a lot of changes in the world affair, especially in Europe, which pattern is followed elsewhere. where the sovereignty of a particular country start to be recognized. International relations should be is envisaged. Kind of mediation to be taken place between the nations in the Europe. These are some of the features of Westphalia Treaty. This followed by the French Revolution. King was overthrown. The new philosophical ideas was formulated and floated: liberty, eternity, and fraternity. So this gives rise to nation states to having a foothold on the philosophical ideals. Now, this gave the laws, the legislature's commandment, positive commandment from sovereign to the inferior, and inferior follows. This gave an opportunity for the lawyers to interpret the law in a manner which sovereign is understood. So this gave a fashion for adversarial litigation as well, especially in the Anglo-Saxon jurisprudence, which follows the common law. Though lawyer's profession is age-old profession, date back in the 12th century or 13th century during the period of Greece, but it never attained a fashion in a level which now we conceive as a lawyer's profession until Westphalia Treaty formulated and gave birth to the nation states. When nation states start legislating, it gives opportunity for lawyers to plead on behalf of their clients. If you look at our scenario during the period of British, I think in the latest period of 17th century, some courts were established in Pompeii. It's primarily concerned about criminal and civil jurisdictions. From the march on till 1935, the Federal Act came in. The courts of different nations came to existence to interpret the polity of nations or some other issues related to polity. It was in the domain of private, and it was exclusively in the domain of private, which were people have disputes in relation to the affairs of criminal or civil. They approach the court and through the lawyers or pleaders or wakils, whatever the designation they might have. Now the nation's case gave a new approach to the laws and legislations. The primarily concern of nation states to legislate subject related to territory. That means a subject has to be covered by the territorial laws of the nations. This is how some of the constitution has been fashioned, certain based on a certain ethos, philosophical background has been referred. This also gave birth to certain type of the governments. The nation states also gave birth to certain types of governments. Some of the form of the governments, of course, the tyrannical form and is called as a fascist, it came to an end by the end of Second World War. There are different types of, based on the class struggle, there's a communist government. The third type of the government, which has came to existence, is called so-called liberal states. These liberal states basically primarily locks from the laissez-faire theory, non-interference of the affairs, the minimal interference of the affairs of the people. Were, though formed in a different form, the formation of the government in a different manner, or democratic or theocratic or other way, they also started recognizing liberal values of this propounded by the liberal states. Adam Smith, the renowned economist who wrote a book, Wealth of Nations, somewhere in, a Scottish philosopher, somewhere in 17th century. But nobody could visualize the dream he has referred in this Wealth of Nations. Minimal interferences, trade and business, a sustenance by your own competition. That is realized from from the formation of the WTO, GATT, etc. The liberal states thought of having a new international relationship through the international regimes like WTO, GATT, etc. This really changed the affairs which either to exist in the world. The territorial concept, the territorial laws made by the national laws now started to be dictated through these world bodies. The idea of Adam Smith is spread through this body. The world body started dictating a different way how the culture, how the business should, how the industry should run the business. So what is the kind of business one should have? The free market emerged out of it. As a result of opening the market in the post-90s, we also see that growth of a business and industries in this nation as well. Now, what is the important take in this? There is an emergence of a new identity through this lifting the barriers of trade, the multinational corporations. These multinational corporations always worked on the market dynamics of any country. Every country in which they want to penetrate, they always worked on the market dynamics of this country. So a host of legislations came into existence suited to their interest and corporate interest. This is how many of our enactment came into be amended, brought in new amendment like information technology, etc., including our own Arbitration Conciliation Act, where we refer to the mediations and all, recognizing as a principle, also came into existence based on the industrial model. It is exactly made for the promotion of the business rather than liquidating or the pending litigation to courts or otherwise. Now, this pave of new culture. The market giants always created a market dynamics to promote their interest. Lifestyles have changed, not because of our capacity to buy the goods or the service, but because of the circumstances around us have been changed by the markets. The market played an important role changing social, cultural, economic affairs of each citizens of the country. The market dominations penetrated in different level by the global giants through lifting the barriers have changed the entire scenario of our lifestyle. The lawyers whose identity, culture, footed on socio-political issue could not realize these changes, which given effect through this lifting of trade barriers. That is where real problem of identity of the lawyers started to come up at a level, to be surfaced at a level now we are now facing. Now, this is a one facet of change which we could not conceive. That we call a change based on the liberalization, where the market have changed the attitudinal lifestyles of people. People have a different concept about life. They look at upon consumption of every service or goods immediately. They can't postpone. So this is the mindset the people have. So this is a mindset with people approach a litigation law. This is the mindset of people look upon every service they require to have. They require an immediate level of consumptions. They can postpone it because lives have changed and all has come into us. Today, the market entities like big corporation decides what should one have. We had a 2G, 3G, 4G, now the 5G. It has become indispensable for us. We have to procure 5G now for day-to-day affairs. The market will decide what kind of clothes you need to wear. Market will decide what kind of food you used to have. People are today dying, not because of starvation. Many people are dying because of food that is being given to us. So market changed our pattern of our life throughout, where we don't have any say in our own affairs. Wherever if the circumstances like this, today the market, certain monopolistic provider, service provider dictates what kind of equipment one should use. We are no say in that. So today, though the territorial laws still in force, the market capitalism, market dynamics that is evolved elsewhere also controls affairs of our life. It is from where we are to modulate our own identity as a litigation lawyer. When you look around ourselves, whether we can fit into that or not is a big issue for us. We may be able to have a feed ourselves with the kinds of cases coming into you. But when you look at yourself in identity future with the circumstances around, certainly questions looms around you, whether I would survive or not. That's questions, unless we ask ourselves now, we will not be able to answer it in the future. It is that identity we need to question. Whether are we fit into changing circumstances or not? Are we fit into the circumstances that people want us to be? Are we looking for a world where we could survive ourselves? Now, second challenge is based on the technology. The second challenge is penetration of the technology. Technology pervades every part of our life. We are said to believe in the fourth revolution. With the fourth revolution, the technological advancement. The third revolution is essentially related to the internet revolution, the cyber. Fourth is the technological advancement, where the technology is going to pervade us in every walk of our life. People are talking about AI, machine learning, and use of the same in a legal profession as a tool or whatever it may be. The technology has been penetrated in such a level where it could have an impact on every aspect of our life. We can't live without an internet. The moment you log in into the internet, you compromise your identity. Your character, your contact can be easily assessed by using the technology. Our life has been compromised, where one cannot hide himself, his identity. The technology penetrated in such a level where one cannot understand what we have. If you are using the Facebook knows what kind of data, based on the data, processing the data, what kind of personality you are, what kind of character you are, what kind of political ideology you have, what kind of social commitment you have, what kind of sexual orientation you have. The data emanates from the social media. Of course, it otherwise intrudes our personal life. That's a different, altogether different matter. But I'm saying, as an individual, we thought of hiding ourselves, our own identity, that is no more available. The moment you log in into this world of cyber or internet, we compromise our identity. And we are looking at a world where people believing that nobody knows what we are, but everybody knows what you are. If you search for a chart, next time when you look at some social media, Facebook or whatever, that will prop up some other advertisement because they know that what you are looking for. If you book your ticket online, that Google will tell you when is your date of departure or date of arrival. So everything is compromised through the online media. The data is available in immense measure. The two big things going to happen in the future with data. One is data being used as a transformative for instruments or agreements or contracts, where it can create documents and read documents and give opinion. One is both based on the and other using by AI tools. First, I would say the data, which could be comes in a different form, were been protected, or transactions in dealings can be protected in different form using like a distributed ledger technology, which can protect all the data, transaction, documents, etc. I will show you one of the video later part of my presentation, how this blockchain technology works. Now, the technology can have a very penetrating impact on our life. We are talking about biotech. Biotech means the brain, just inserting a chip in your brain. It can capture everything related to your body and physiology and psychology. The computer could predict what is in your mind. That chip can diagnose what kind of disease you have. One treatment, one medicine. A doctor sitting in Kannur or Ernakulam only treat one patient and he has to diagnose. But somebody in the US or somewhere in the world over, he can diagnose all. His algorithm is matters now. Driverless cars are coming. There won't be an accident. Hardly there would be an accident because it comes in a single algorithm. All car will be networked in one single algorithm. There won't be any collisions. Car knows where to stop, how to avoid collision. If that has happened, where would the lawyers of MICT would go? I don't know. That is imminent to happen. The doctor's profession, which ultimately a profession with experience, putting his efforts for years and years, getting a knowledge, but all of a sudden it's taken away by a single chip inserted to your brain. It could easily diagnose somebody who's in a US can give an opinion about what medicine you require. So look at this background about our legal professions. Where do you go to start? I'm not saying that the AI or artificial intelligence or machine would replace a lawyer, but certainly it would replace many things which we used to do. Like agriculture laborer who used to work in the field, been replaced through tractor. Agricultural activities will be continued, but instead of human efforts, physical efforts, it's been transformed. The agricultural activities transformed the tractor. There are two fundamental things related to a human. One is a physical activity, other is a cognitive. Physical activity almost have been replaced everywhere. We are now physically mobile because we need not go anywhere. The human labor has been replaced with machines. Is it not? Everywhere you find the head load workers working in an airport or elsewhere, you find that they have hardly any work that has been replaced with machines or whatever the trolley they're being used. But this is not far. The one more fundamental quality we have been also been taken away by machines. Cognitive skills. The cognitive skills is taken over by AI, then that would have create a lot of impact on our day-to-day life, including the legal profession. The machine will vet your document. Machine will give an opinion. Machine can evaluate your emotions. Only thing machine lacks is emotions and compassions and the human quality which otherwise are told by us. But it can read your emotions and sentiments. So physical, already machines has taken away. The cognitive skill one human is having is in the process of taking away by the machines. Till today, we are fighting with the machines. Now the machine will to overcome. Now we have to fight to overcome the machines. The days have changed. It is in that background how we have to fit our identity, where we should stand. We are talking about litigation. It is a small thing in the sense in the area of the whole world. Litigation, whether we use VC or some other tools, it's small matters in fact in the large spectrum of it. I'm not overlooking this aspect, but how life is being changed through the machines, the technology, AI, etc. One aspect, one impact is created by liberalization where the people look at the immediate consumptions of goods and services. That's a creation of the liberalization. And the other is taking over by the technology, was taking our, our cognitive skills. We exist as a professionals in this world because we can interpret or we can act as an intermediary between provider of service or beneficiary of service. Because we call as a professionals because of our expertise on the domain knowledge of law. Like doctors, they have a domain knowledge in the medical field. We as an intermediary, this intermediary is taken away. Where will it stand? The beneficiary can directly get service from provider, where would we stand? A professionalism, the law we studied, experience we gained. How are you going to accommodate ourselves within that sphere is some question to be posed to ourselves. It is where when you look at our identity and answer, where you are starting now. How are you going to answer this word about? You can't escape from the changes. I already questioned you the changes being affected not based on the territorial laws. It's coming from outside elsewhere. It is not we decide what kind of food we need to have. It is not that we decide what kind of technology we used to have. It is decided elsewhere because large corporations already taken over many things of our life. It is equally possible for them to take over many things which otherwise we find it belongs to us or precious to us. They can look into any aspect of our life. They can take over and they decide. By the way, I have to mention also there is already a Robert lawyer practicing as some of the jurisdiction in the US as a bankruptcy lawyer. So this is not something which will not happen, but would happen, bound to happen. Lawyers cannot be replaced, not out. Judges cannot be replaced, not out. But how we fit into that role as a lawyer, as a judge, is a question for ourselves to be answered. Agricultural activity, of course, so long as we require food, it cannot be abolished or it cannot be destroyed. But where the labor of agriculture laborer, his role has been now taken to the machine. Similarly, so long as the law exists in this world and justice remain to be answered, given, certainly there is a requirement of lawyers and judges. But how you fit into that role is a difficult question to be answered. Most official court lawyers are always different about this aspect, believing that it has nothing to do with them. But it is not an issue or not only to the official lawyer or corporate lawyer or practicing lawyers, metropolitan or big cities. It's basically a question regarding our own existence, that we are facing an existential crisis. Whether you're in a pyramid, lower or higher, no matter, they all will be affected. This is the two angles of future which I just projected to you. And third category is this frustrated justice system in which we live. Whatever the reasons we ascribe, whatever the you may have a criticism, we have to accept we live in where the justice system is so frustrated to the common man who seeks justice in every aspect of life, not necessarily to the court. Are we able to really provide justice to the people as a lawyer, as a legal professionals? My own experience as 7 years as a practicing lawyer in the official court, Kannur, I really vouch for that. I really look for myself as a profession, not for the service to the people who have engaged me. I engage as an employer, my job is over, I believe, after the trial is over. I leave the execution petition for the clerk to do the same. And years in the years, he fight for getting the delivery through the execution petition. I never believed as a lawyer beyond that. For a client, is not your relative skill matters. It is not what the judge has written in the judgment is not matters for him. For ultimately, he is earning for a justice to happen to him, to deliver to him. People are really frustrated with the system in one or other reasons. Are we really providing to them? It hardly happens in the courts, elsewhere also. People are not able to get the justice. People who live in the remote areas are not able to access justice to system because we live far from the area, far from places. High courts or courts are located in different places. People may not know what is a system of justice. If you go to the Adivasi, your people are living in, may not be knowing it. This has become affairs of rich and higher rich or middle class or lower middle class or higher classes. People should get a justice in every walk of their life, whether they come to our court or not. Are we as legal professionals catering to their requirement? Are we not feel ourselves doing it? We look upon our identity as a profession and look upon our career. Of course, that matters of maybe very career-oriented person. But really, justice matters for every citizen of this country. Are we able to live up to the real expectation of those people? Forget about the people who are coming to the court. People are coming to the court or elsewhere. The lawyers are also able to get justice. They see as a lawyers, not the problem solver. They always believe as a lawyer, as a mighty to fight something else. They don't come to the lawyers believing that a suit, the problem will be suit or, solved by the lawyers. Where is their identity? Tell me frankly, where we stand as an identity? Whether a lawyer or a court, they don't find really in the concern of measuring the justice really happens to them or not. I see how many cases are coming to the High Court. I think a couple of them who are in the High Court knows. Being a background of the mediator, I tried to settle so many of the cases is coming to the court. If I could have thrown it dustbin out of, because such cases are not maintainable. But I have a pressure on settling those cases using my mediation techniques in the judicial side. I've tried to resolve many of these cases. I could have simply disposed or thrown it in the dustbin and saying that it's not maintainable. But I have to take it up on judicial side and see that some kind of justice is administered to the people. What kind of system you have? If somebody is having a problem, you only try to aggravate this problem. You never try to solve this problem. I believe in many of the businesses collapse, not because of their not only because of mismanagement, because there is nothing to support from the legal side to solve their problems. If somebody is a builder or a buyer who involved in some kind of transaction, it fails. The moment he approaches a lawyer will try to see that something is a kind of approach civil code or criminal code and get relief and frustrate that ultimate outcome of such a relationship. Are we able to capture at least a small businessman in your own city or town or village? Are we able to structure their nature of relief? That is what ultimately justice is concerned about. Justice is not rolling through the laws and interpretation of the law. Justice is something every citizen is earning for it, in whatever form it comes to them. Are we really able to fashion their frustrations? Redeem their frustrations? Are we able to fashion and formulate their problems? We, as a lawyer and community legal professionals, we failed ourselves. We may be able to critical on different aspects related to judges or institutions. That's a different aspect altogether. But as a community, are we able to capture justice to the people? It is in this background, we have to look at our own identity. One is, as we are not as a failed community to provide service to the people. Secondly, the two lurking issues, onslaught on us, our legal profession, come to existence through liberalization and technology. It is from here to answer everything. It is from there we have to go to the future and shape our future. How we are going to do that future. As a chairman of computer committee as well as artificial intelligence committee, I have certain things in my mind. Fortunately, during this COVID period, we could launch the online computer online copy application module in the country. Nobody had an objection. We were behind the law clerks. So many times we asked them to undergo training. They refused to come. Now, after the COVID period, they realized it is a necessity for them also. Now they're prepared to undergo the training. This is outlook we have. Without a single effort, going to the High Court or the registry, you apply online, you'll get a copy in your mail on payment of 50 or 30 rupees. But people are showing reluctance. It can, if small effort taken by me in areas like copy application, it can render 30% as a surplus labor in the High Court, which we can use for some other creative purpose. Government is not in a position to establish or create a new courts, obviously for a reason that every court which is to be sanctioned at least require 10 to 12%. If I get a catch opportunity at least 1 or 2 years, probably I'll make all efforts to see that the surplus, at least 1/3 of surplus is created for the purpose of creating new courts across the state. That is only possible way. There are more than 100 proposals are pending in the government. Government is impossible. But we introduce our changes through technology or whatever method, there could be more of surplus labor we can utilize in a better manner. Fortunately, it is due to the COVID period, I didn't have much resentment or resistance from legal fraternity, but otherwise it would have a different scene. We have to look the legal field as a whole. Our parochial thinking in terms of self is not able to, cannot be concealed with the larger sphere of we are looking for as a changes. We just put forward our own personal interest. We look at the immediate concern as it would be affected you or not, but in long run, you only going to benefit it. Nobody going to lose it, but changes has to come. It is with changes alone we can create revolutions. It is only then we'll be able to have we will be able to convince the people we are really service providers to you. So my brothers and sisters who are hearing here, the fundamental question now posed to you is your own identity. That identity is at stake. We have to shape our identity. I pointed out impact of liberalization, impact of technology, and present day of frustrated system of our own overshadowing the requirements of the people's concern. It is from these spheres we have to create an identity of our own. How we are to go and what kind of things we can share. And I'll take you some of the possible. We have time. What is the time now? Sir?
No problem, sir. We can continue.
Because people like Vijay Kumar and all might be having, they are waiting for the chance.
Many eminent personalities from other parts of the country, you say, has joined with us, sir. Jailan, Murthy, Uma ma'am.
Yeah, I'll show how a distributed ledger technology could have an impact on a future transaction. I'll show the one video.
Okay.
Many people think of blockchain as the technology that powers Bitcoin. While this was its original purpose, blockchain is capable of so much more. Despite the sound of the word, there's not just one blockchain. Blockchain is shorthand for a whole suite of distributed ledger technologies that can be programmed to record and track anything of value, from financial transactions to medical records or even land titles. You might be thinking, we already have processes in place to track data. What's so special about blockchain? Let's break down the reasons why blockchain technology stands to revolutionize the way we interact with each other. Reason number one, the way it tracks and stores data. Blockchain stores information in batches called blocks that are linked together in a chronological fashion to form a continuous line, metaphorically, a chain of blocks. If you make a change to the information recorded in a particular block, you don't rewrite it. Instead, the change is stored in a new block showing that X changed to Y at a particular date and time. Sound familiar? That's because blockchain is based on the centuries-old method of the general financial ledger. It's a non-destructive way to track data changes over time. Here's one example. Let's say there was a dispute between Anne and her brother Steve over who owns a piece of land that's been in the family for years. Because blockchain technology uses the ledger method, there is an entry in the ledger showing that Adam first owned the property in 1900. When Adam sold the property to Dave in 1930, a new entry was made in the ledger, and so on. Every change of ownership of this property is represented by a new entry in the ledger, right up until Anne bought it from their father in 2007. Anne is the current owner, and we can see that history in the ledger. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Unlike the age-old ledger method, originally a book, then a database file stored on a single system, blockchain was designed to be decentralized and distributed across a large network of computers. This decentralizing of information reduces the ability for data tampering and brings us to the second factor that makes blockchain unique. It creates trust in the data. Before a block can be added to the chain, a few things have to happen. First, a cryptographic puzzle must be solved, thus creating the block. The computer that solves the puzzle shares the solution to all of the other computers on the network. This is called proof of work. The network will then verify this proof of work, and if correct, the block will be added to the chain. The combination of these complex math puzzles and verification by many computers ensures that we can trust each and every block on the chain. Because the network does the trust building for us, we now have the opportunity to interact directly with our data in real time. And that brings us to the third reason blockchain technology is such a game changer. No more intermediaries. Currently, when doing business with one another, we don't show the other person our financial or business records. Instead, we rely on trusted intermediaries, such as a bank or lawyer, to view our records and keep that information confidential. These intermediaries build trust between the parties and are able to verify, for example, that, yes, Anne is the rightful owner of this land. This approach limits exposure and risk, but also adds another step to the exchange, which means more time and money spent. If Anne's land title information was stored in a blockchain, she could cut out the middleman, her lawyer, who would ordinarily confirm her information with Steve. As we now know, all blocks added to the chain have been verified to be true and can't be tampered with, so Anne can simply show Steve her land title information secured on the blockchain. Anne would save considerable time and money by cutting out the middleman. This type of trusted peer-to-peer interaction with our data can revolutionize the way we access, verify, and transact with one another. And because blockchain is a type of technology and not a single network, it can be implemented in many different ways. Some blockchains can be completely public and open to everyone to view and access. Others can be closed to a select group of authorized users, such as your company, a group of banks, or government agencies. And there are hybrid public-private blockchains too. In some, those with private access can see all the data, while the public can see only selections. In others, everyone can see all the data, but only some people have access to add new data. A government, for example, could use a hybrid system to record the boundaries of Anne's property and the fact that she owns it while keeping her personal information private. Or it could allow everyone to view property records, but reserve to itself the exclusive right to update them. It is the combination of all these factors, decentralizing of the data, building trust in the data, and allowing us to interact directly with one another and the data that gives blockchain technology the potential to underpin many of the ways we interact with one another. But, much like the rise of the internet, this technology will bring with it all kinds of complex policy questions around governance, international law, security, and economics. Here at the Center for International Governance Innovation, we seek to bring trusted research that will equip policymakers with the information they need to advance blockchain innovations, enabling economies to flourish in this new digital economy. Learn more about our work on blockchain technology by visiting our website and social media channels.
This is one technology which likely to have an impact on many transactions upon which lawyers themselves thrive. Yuval Harari is an Israeli philosopher and historian. He's written a couple of books, Sapiens, Homo Deus, and 21 lessons for his 21st century.
Yes.
He refers to the different categories of people, what kind of an impact would have in our life, national life, work culture. According to him, there would be a class called a useless class. They would be rendered jobless on account of technological penetrations. Especially he's pointing out drivers who learned for driving and started driving for 50, 40 years. All of a sudden, they have to stop driving and they become rendered jobless. Not because of they become useless, because of their profession they carry, they become useless. So this is termed as a useless class. Similarly, the kind of transaction we deal today can be overtaken by distributed ledger technology. With the blockchain is one of the technology, is the offshoot of the distributed technology. The technology can maintain any records without any tampering because it is interconnected each other. Any tampering or tinkering would have an impact on other connected affairs. Even I am making a lot of suggestions in this regard for the vigilance department, CBI, NA, or for use this technology so that there won't be any tinkering with any evidence they gathered once it is stored in a distributed technology. Of course, that is a matter for the prosecution to consider. But our transactions, if you look at the High Court, many cases are coming to the High Court because there are a lot of disputes regarding to this transaction, which is not available. It's not. Now everybody can access in this, if it is available in the public domain, what kind of document, what are the nature of it. Now, our inability to penetrate this information often results in litigations. So lawyers who learn to live from disputes may not have much avenues if this kind of transaction happens because it is beyond reach of a human to tamper or tinker. At the same time, using this technology, lawyers also can thrive. I've been advocating on this, using the technology with the private international law for creating instruments like a power of attorney, wills, which is executed anywhere in the part of the world, could be easily verified. International register of marriage. So one need not go to any other country and find out whether he's married or not. You just look at his details in the ledger, find out whether he's married or not. Under the Foreign Marriage Act, you have to give a notice and it has to go to the consulate, or else you have to come to the High Court and say that I'm a single. So these all kind of intricacies can be avoided. So in a way, it will take away a chunk of litigation, which is otherwise surrounded on non-availability of the information. Much of the litigation is happening in the High Court, especially related to administration, is because of non-availability of the information, so data. Many of the disputes you might have in law court experience because of fact that there is a possibility of disputing the kind of transaction if it has happened in the physical world. But when there is no scope for it, such disputing in a transaction which is taken place through kind of technology which could not be tampered, hardly there is any issues. So it will shape in a way our approach to the litigation. It will take off away a chunk of our litigations. But at the same time, there is a possibility of using this kind of technology for our own advancement, our own further progress, or furthering the interest of our citizen community. In both ways, if you look at technology, technology can one way take up your chunk of litigation, but at the same time, it also can provide avenues for lawyers to thrive. It is all up to us to choose in between. One who try to be stereotype and want to be die with what he has already learned. Of course, he can also do that. But one who wants to create something around him, he can thrive by making his efforts to create an environment which would cater the requirement of the people. It's all up to your one's choice. The primary point which I pointed out to you is essentially a question of your identity. The future with this present identity, present mindset, you will be really to be one among the class which you and already pointed out, useless. Whether we should be there or not, it's a matter of a personal choice for you. It's for you, for us to shape the world, looking at the world around. Because till now, we shaped our identity because there is something to come to you. If there are two persons that would fight, they're necessary it has to come to you. So that is a kind of identity you created. Now you have to create an identity for yourself, seeing the two persons and find out whether anything that can secure through you. That is the approach. We look at them and what they need it, whether we can provide it or not. That is the identity shift you need to have. Like Uber shifted the culture of automotive of the world. They looked at the whole world and found out the taxis operate in different places. Just created a platform through a software and provided better service to the people. In a similar way, we can transform this world using the technology by creating legal instruments which people may require. Creating a platform where people can resolve their disputes. Creating an environment where business can thrive. Many people require your efforts. It is for the legal community to transform this world instead of the world transforming the legal community. That is the stake you have. That is the identity question you have. Either do you live because there is something for world to give to you. Now that has to be treated as a bygone. Now you have to give something to the world, transform the world. Whatever the mode you can do it, whether in law, official code, or wherever we are. Just look at the people, and I understand that the issues, instead of boiling the issues to the courtrooms, you try to resolve the issues if it is a dispute. Or if it is pertaining to the business, you try to structure the business in such a way which it could conduce it to him. You shape yourself in a manner which would cater the requirement of the people rather than you become a requirement of the people. It is where you have to shift your identity. Unless until we change that mindset, I think future will be a bleak for us. Certainly, it is a matter of great concern for us. The tiller of the soil or owner of the agriculture field has not lost his agriculture field because of deploying a tractor, because he at least engaged the tractor for the use of agriculture, because that's where agriculture survey. Similarly, lawyer will not lose this world of litigation or legal field, but we have to use that tractor in whatever form it comes to you. If we are capable to use that tractor, we can create wonders. But we fail to use the tractor, you will be outdated, you will be thrown out like an agriculture laborer. That dash should not happen to us. We have to think and start changing ourselves. Brothers, whatever the form you can do. In fact, Mr. Surendranath, yes, Vijay Kumar, yes, we're all influential people. For the last 5-6 years, I was requesting every bar council member and the IU member, including Manoj, at least approach the government to change court fee rules, at least for the purpose of compensation, which could create itself a lot of cause of action for lower court community. Every day you find people are defined through online media or social media or news media, whatever may be. They have, everyone has a freedom. We bound to recognize it. But people who have become victim of such onslaught have no forum to go, because no lawyer community have taken up this cause of them. People are frustrated on different levels. If you have been defamed, you are not prepared to go to criminal court because it is not a place where you can stand. If you want to go to civil court, you have to pay court fee as a premium for justice. If you bring down court fee at 1 rupee, it will at least cater the requirement of justice in a way which I now projected to you. People are frustrated with the system in one way or other. One feeling of frustration is because of this code fee. At least you make some effort, being a members of ILU, to exert pressure to the government to bring down the code fee to 1%, so that people who are victimized or whose feelings have been injured, who have been defamed, at least go to the civil court and sue against the persons who are responsible. At least at this platform, I have chosen to make request because seeing that many people are here who can make such changes. So with this word, I conclude. If any questions, I'm prepared to answer.
There are some messages in the chat box, comments are in the chat box, sir, by
Yes.
Uma ma'am, Nagaraj, Revati Mohan.
Chat
Yes.
37. There are 37. I can't see true statements.
Last 4 or 5 messages are there.
Tangacha, please, നിങ്ങൾ വായിച്ചു കൊടുത്താൽ മതിയോ?
37 message, whether notice to parties can be handled with less time through blockchain technology. Notice is something is either should happen in physical form or should happen in electronic medium. We are contemplating the e-committee is having a system in place. A notice can be served to even e-post office, like if we just communicate to the post office where it is, immediately the post office, it will be communicated to the person within the jurisdiction and they will send immediately. It can happen within a matter of time. Similarly, now we have a system where we are providing smartphones to all the process server. The process server will communication should happen through that lower court, and process server immediately serve and send it back the acknowledgement through the smartphone. The blockchain technology is essentially concerned as like any other ledger system we have in a physical world. It is a ledger system in a digital world. That's what he called the cryptocurrency. You know that the issues related, because cryptocurrency is all based on the blockchain technology, where it is beyond human intervention. I mean, human can't tinker or tamper. If once it is tamper, it would have an impact. So blockchain technology may be able to connect all the codes concerned and issue a summons on it's possible. I'm not saying it is not impossible. But how far the technology should be used for such service or not, it's a matter of our policy to be taken. But certainly blockchain can be used for the purpose of prosecution. For example, vigilance is initiating corruption cases. He can connect with the prosecution office codes and feed all. This will be networked. Nobody can tinker. Nobody can take away. Nobody can destroy the evidence. And when it is matter is taken to High Court also can view it, because it's all network is connected to each other. The present is now every data is going to cloud. That is the reason people can take your data or hack the data. In blockchain, it is not possible because it is connected to the computers. Each computer is in the network.
Thank you,
So
sir.
blockchain can be used for instruments like power of attorney, whether it be executed Dubai, America, you can accept it. Blockchain can be used for executing international will. Blockchain can be used for a business transaction where we need a lot of documents for exports and all. So in so many ways, it can be used for transactions.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Tanachan, you can read the other.
Yes, a few more. Yes, I can read it. 1 second. There are some comments are there, sir. I think you can see it.
If there are any questions, you can just that.
Yes.
See, AI can vet the document. It can give an opinion. It can give a legal opinion. It can give a judgment on rule of law and question of law. It can also create a question of law. It can also decide the issues. It can process all the data as artificial intelligence. Perhaps it will be great aid for if you are using in the litigations. Instead of searching a proposition of law, AI can create a proposition of law. What is the proposition of law answered in the earlier judgment? What is not in? Instead of you applying our mind, the computer will say that this is a proposition of law laid in the earlier cases. This is a proposition of law. This is not a question answered in that case. It can give all answers. In fact, being the chairman of the Artificial Intelligence Committee in High Court, we are thinking very high about deploying AI for the MSCT cases. I don't know how the lower community will react it. We are thinking about it because you know that moment the police has registered the case, the information has to pass on the tribunal. So we're thinking about having an interoperable system like police, health department, insurance, court, where all the data will be uploaded and transmitted to the system, and based on the nature of dispute, system itself will calculate what is the amount of the compensation based on the dictums of the apex court or high courts, and it will give. And if there is any dispute, only need to go further. So the system itself will be in a position to give outcome of your possible litigation. This can avoid a delay. Many courts are cases are pending. I think in Trichur it's more than 12,000 cases or MSCT cases are pending. I don't think people will get a justice in a short span of time.
Sir, there is one question in the chat box that whether admissibility of evidence through blockchain technology is there any need to amend Indian Evidence Act and IT Act or existing laws?
See, IT Act Section 6 give indication of using electronic means documents. If anything is in physical mode, that can be used in electronic also. That means it is also in electronics. But at the same time, most of this evidence which generated through the electronic means is in the nature of secondary evidence. Unless some kind of presumption is given, there is a possibility of disputing the correctness and credibility. Maybe that the best, I don't know, the 65 would apply to directly in such transaction or 65 IT Act? 65, I believe. But blockchain technology can revolutionize all other related legal field, like transactions, business structuring. Many things can be done through the blockchain method. Now, for example, many financial transactions, now you have CIBIL. What is called a CIBIL? The bank provide all feed information to CIBIL. So CIBIL would say that you are a creditworthy person or not. It has some kind of points they will award. Similarly, you as a person, as an individual, what kind of transaction you have, what kind of natural person, all can be, identified through the digital technology.
Anyone wants to ask any questions so that I can unmute them? Please. Yes. One second. Yes. Okay, sir. Please unmute yourself. Yes.
Sir, is there any platform to conduct mediations and conciliations online? Have any platform? I think we developed by the High Court E-Committee also. Can you please enlighten us?
E-Committee, in fact, in principle, has decided to allow mediation through online, provided the centers have infrastructure facility for providing online mediation. So based on some requests received from different parts of the state, the mediation committee has decided. I think, is it happening, Tangachan, in state?
No, not yet, sir, not yet.
I think we have decided in a meeting.
Yes. We have submitted project report before the AMC.
Now, online mediation is a can have a very good impact. Any pending litigation, because many of the persons are living abroad. Kerala, you know, we having highest immigrated NRI people.
Yes.
So it is easy to hold mediation online instead of asking people to come down to Kerala for mediation. But still, there are doubts expressed by some of the mediators about eye-to-eye contact, emotions being elicited, and because ultimately in a physical form we will have a kind of affinity being developed. The very capability of the mediator, how we develop a relationship with both parties who are before him, so as to bring them down to a kind of settlement. Where like Suresh has expressed as some kind of reservation, but I don't think in all these cases such kind of issues is involved. There are many cases it may not require any kind of appeal to such emotions of the parties.
Yes, sir.
Sir,
It would happen. It would happen.
Sir, there is one question by Revadiji Menon from Chennai. Can the data be tampered in blockchain process?
It can. The very idea of blockchain itself is to secure all data. Once any format is tinkered, that reflect on other network, so it can be easily found. It can be easily found out. That is the reason this cryptocurrencies become so popular in the world. Of course, I don't know what is it. There's a case pending before the Apex Court. The cryptocurrency mode of transaction is becoming so popular because of it cannot be tampered. It's so protected because it's got an hash. This hash is being blocked once a transaction is entered. So it is not easy to tamper that hash key.
So Nagaraj, you want to say anything?
Nothing. Thank you. It's very good information, and thank you, Jesse.
Okay. Then Serial Warrior, he's here. Mr. Warrior.
Yeah. I put in a question, that's all.
Okay. Then Vijay Krishna sir from Chennai is there. Hello.
Yeah. One minute.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been a very informative and nice session. I must thank Justice Mushtaqe for this wonderful session. And
thank you, sir.
The use of technology and more in the days to come. I think it's a very good message, particularly in these times when we are totally cut off from our normal kind of routine. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
And Mr. Murthy, Jailan Murthy from Hyderabad is there.
I must also thank Mr. Tangachan for the continued efforts and for sending us the notice of all this. And he requires our thanks as well.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, thank you, sir. A very elaborate speaking from you, and I have learned few things today, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Yes, Dinesh Gaur, please unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Yes.
It has been a great afternoon, sir, and very, very informative session. I just have one question, sir.
Yes.
Justice has told about blockchain. That's wonderful to learn. But I want to know how machine learning, AI, and data analytics connected with blockchain.
See, machine learning and data analytics are totally different concepts altogether. Machine learning is essentially a data processing. This is a data protection, is a blockchain method.
Okay, sir. Okay.
So, like for example, some country like in Latin America uses blockchain method for the land transactions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think the Honduras is making, some of the countries have already used this technology for transaction. AI and data machine is basically substituting our cognitive process. We're processing data and getting a predictable outcome.
Okay, sir. Okay. But you were talking of artificial intelligence also, sir. You talked
I also
something.
spoke, and I spoke about all the technology, including blockchain technology. Or blockchain technology, obviously, I spoke for the reason that this is the where lawyers can make a lot of impact in relation to transaction of the people, especially people who are related to business.
Right, sir. Just one more question, sir. How are cyber laws and cyber security issues taken care in all this?
Cyber security, I think many of these issues are taken care of. I mean, cyber terrorism, cyber kind of things, attack on this has been taken. But in a way, many of this technology, I mean, factors, it may not necessarily should come within the sovereign states.
Okay.
It should not, it can be located elsewhere also. So kind of transaction when you create it, it may have a cross-border transaction for which we need to have a kind of private international law in the force where many countries could join together and accept it so that in case of any dispute, one party who might be affected in this country or other country will be able to get this, protect his interest. Because it can't define within the territorial nation of a country, these kind of transactions. The impact could go outside.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Shasheta, please unmute yourself. P. Shashi, please unmute yourself. Yes. Shasheta, please. Hello. Yes, yes.
Hello.
Yes, yes. Kelkam, പറഞ്ഞോളൂ.
Thank you very much. A new area in which we all are enlightened.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our prestige also.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Notes.
കഴിഞ്ഞോ തങ്കച്ച വിജയാട്ടൻ
ആരെങ്കിലും ചോദിക്കാനുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ
ആരും ചോദിക്കാനുണ്ടോ ചോദിച്ചാ ഒന്നുമില്ല.
വൺ സെക്കൻഡ് നമ്മുടെ ജനറൽ സെക്രട്ടറി സംസാരിക്കുന്നു.
Justice Mushtaqe.
Yes.
I got one aspect to share because the entire thing, of course, is futuristic. Not only futuristic, it is a near future. But thing is that how do you answer this without changing the legal education to justice education? Our basic problem seems we are all trained to adversarial justice only.
Correct.
So as far as ILU is concerned, we are concerned with justice. So definitely this is a pointer to switch our legal education to justice education. That's only my suggestion.
Exactly. You're absolutely right, Surendran. Because we are not been trained, our mindset have been trained in such a way where we are not able to cater to the requirement of the people. We require a totally different orientation now. Our legal education, our policy makers, all should involve us to make the shift to happen. Platform like this, of course, also can trigger in a way, one or other way, it can trigger some kind of movement, but not necessarily a movement which could revolutionize.
Thank you.
Sir, our senior most mediator in India, Sriram Panju sir, also joined with us. He's with us. Sir,
Yes,
Panju sir, would you please unmute yourself? Panju sir is there. Okay. Jeta?
ആ
Yes, yes.
ക്ലോസ് ചെയ്യാല്ലേ? ആരും നന്ദി പറയാനാരും വിളിക്കണ്ട.
വിനോദ് ആയിക്കോട്ടെ.
വിനോദായിക്കോട്ടെ.
Yes.
sir.
Good afternoon to all. I feel very happy to be here to propose vote of thanks on the prestigious occasion. And the Honorable Justice Mohammed Mushtaqe was kind enough to deliver a talk besides his busy schedule. Needless to say that the talk on future of legal education is very inspiring and very significant, and further that some new data is also, new information also provided by our justice. And on behalf of ALU, sir, I express my sincere thanks to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Our PB Surendranath, ALU General Secretary, and CP Pramod were given their facilitation on this occasion. On behalf of ALU, I extend my sincere thanks to them. This program was presided over by Advocate Vijay Kumar and welcome speech delivered by MC Ramachandran and our President P. Shashi and Mr. Tangachan for giving valuable support and all assistance to the district committee to conduct all these programs. So let express my serious thanks to them. And I know the participants are very major role in the success of any program. Likewise, this program is enriched by the participation of lawyers from all over the nation and some of them outside our nation. And I thank each of them on behalf of AALU. Once again, I thank each one of you for making this program a success. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir,
Thank you.
Sir, one or two questions, sir. Two questions missed, sir, because I got a message to my mobile. That is one question from Nina Kare. She is asking, she want to know if we have cheated by some broker while investing cryptocurrency, can we take any legal action against him? That is the one question asked by Nina Kare from Jabalpur.
Absolutely. The cheating is a matter of a brick mortar system where cheating is happened anywhere in the modern medium of digital or otherwise. So long as 420 is there, we can.
Yes. And one Revati, she is from Chennai. She wants to ask a question to you directly, sir. Revati, please ask your question.
Yeah, sir, it was a very informative session and it was really mind-blogging. Regarding this blockchain which you had mentioned, I just wanted to know one thing. Since you said blockchain is ledger form or in technology, like how we have ledger in, yeah, like how we have ledger in the physical form. So there are sometimes when we see that some documents which have been wrongly, registered and all those things are there. So when you do that blockchain, that will also get entered as a document, right? Which may not be correct.
The document, the sanctity of the document entered cannot be disputed because it is done by a person who is done. But document which is uploaded is correct or not is a different issue. Is it altogether? Because it's like a mistake.
Yeah.
So what my point is this is a tamper proof. I mean, it cannot be tinkered because many of our issues is related to the point in dispute arises in a transaction where it's executed or not. As far as the execution proof is concerned, itself is a technology itself is a proof because it cannot be tampered.
Okay. So whatever is there in the register office, that will be entered into the blockchain.
Because any person can rely upon that transaction and rely upon the ledger ledger, what is entered in the ledger.
Okay. Just sorry, sir. One more question.
One more. I tell you one reason.
Yeah.
See, if suppose a power of attorney is executed in some countries outside in India, there are two methods. One is to legalize. You have to take the power of attorney and go to the embassy of that country and legalize. That's the one method for legalize.
Yeah.
There are 8 conferences, 8 conventions where a notary is called. I forgot the name of the notaries, class of the notaries, whose seal is born on such document that can be accepted.
Okay.
But problem is always arises in the country where it is to be relied upon, authenticity. But instead of producing it, if you refer it to blockchain and find out is whereas it is found out, there ends a matter. For another example is marriage register. marriage register, suppose a foreigner and Indian is to married in a year. What are the whole procedure you have to undergo? You have to find out whether the person is foreigner is married or not. If it is a marriage is registered in a blockchain method, one can find out whether he's a single or married or not. So it's quite discernible. If marriage register is maintained in every country in blockchain method, it's quite possible to accept whether he's married or not previously.
Okay.
Suppose a person is divorced, it will be easily known whether he's divorced or not.
Yeah. Understand. Yeah. No, my
Suppose a foreign judgment you have to have to rely. There are methods which is prescribed how a foreign judgment is relayed. There are provisions under the Evidence Act, like I think subject to correction is section 80 or somewhere. What are the method and proof of this evidence? These all will be substituted once this technology is accepted.
My concern more was on the thing which you showed on the video regarding the documents, land documents.
Yes,
because
blockchain.
most of the land documents, sometimes it is like when you go down 30s, 40s documents, you go, it may be correct. But when it comes up like the power of attorney, taking the document and registering it to somebody, wrong documentations are being done. And then it comes to the court saying that it is wrong. I mean, like title itself is wrong. So,
but in blockchain method, it can't hardly happen because once a document is entered, the registrar has to verify the competency of the person who present the document. Once he's certified, it's become the valid document.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Jeta.
So
okay,
thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sparing this much time for us. At least it is thought-provoking and it is piercing or rather penetrating into our hearts. Now I have started thinking about chartering my roots, at least to not to step down at the area of that useless persons.
Yes.
So thank you very much, sir. It was highly informative.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's a wonderful session.
Thank you.
So let us now conclude our. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.